Well, I got to experience a first, which is having an artist put a kick me sign on my back and encouraging their followers to do just that. Apparently, Burton Cummings, the voice, the songwriter behind many of the Guess Who's classic hits, took issue with a post that I had made, and the result was a lot of nasty emails and DMs being sent my way. Now, within all of those emails, all those DMs, there was literally one person, I'm not exaggerating, who actually opened themselves up for a conversation with me. The rest of the messages were like 8-year-olds learning their first cuss words. They were just really nasty. But the one person that did have a dialogue with me actually helped me to understand that something I had said in my post could be misinterpreted in a way that wasn't my intention, which was that I was saying that the current iteration of the Guess Who is better than the classic version, that the vocals, that Derek Sharp maybe was a better vocalist than Burton Cummings, which that was never my point. It never even entered my mind because that's a stupid argument. If you look at my posts, I generally don't stack rank musicians. Music's not a contest. I think stack ranking is stupid, which is why I think lists like Rolling Stone puts out, they're nothing more than clickbait. I think the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's method for artist selection is completely disingenuous to their mission statement. I just think ranking and doing any type of ordinal comparison within bands or bands against bands is just stupid, so never would have done it in the first place. So for that one, I do apologize to Burton because that was never my intention. I just would never say that. Now, with that being said, I do have a point that I was trying to make that I'm going to get to here in a minute. But first, I do want to share that I do think it is the right of all music lovers to just have a preference, to say that one band resonates more with them than another, that one song resonates with them more than another song. You're not necessarily saying that something is better in terms of skill set or capabilities. You're just saying that it resonates with me. It flips a switch with me. And a good example of that would be Van Halen. I love both the David Lee Roth and the Sammy Hagar era of Van Halen. You know, that David Lee Roth era is some great party music, but it's the Sammy Hagar era that really flipped that switch inside of me. For whatever reason, that music really resonated with me more deeply. I'm not saying that Sammy Hagar is better than David Lee Roth, because that's a stupid statement to make. I'm just saying that the music resonated with me. I could say the same thing about the Steve Perry era of Journey, resonated with me more than the pre-Steve Perry era. But I know a lot of people who believe that the pre-Steve Perry era, where Greg Rowley was the primary vocalist and they were more prog, that was the better era. And that's cool. Fleetwood Mac, for years, I was a big fan of the Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham era Fleetwood Mac. But over the last several years, I actually became a bigger fan of the Peter Green era. Now, I still love the Stevie Nicks, Lindsey Buckingham era, but something in me has changed so that Peter Green era, those early years, man, they really do something to me, which means that, one, I'm allowed to have an opinion. Two, I'm allowed to change my mind. So then what is the point that I'm trying to make? Well, without getting into the argument of legitimacy, which gets into whether or not a band is legitimate based off of who is in or not in the lineup, which we'll save that for another time, because I've actually stood on both sides of that argument. Now, the point I'm trying to make is that when Gary Peterson, drummer, had the opportunity to build a new lineup of musicians around him with the intent of creating new music, much in the same way that drummers Mick Fleetwood has had to do with Fleetwood Mac a number of times, or Vixen drummer Roxy Petrucci has done. Now, when Gary decided to do this, he had a couple options. He could either create a band that sounds like and writes music like the classic lineup, in which case, they would have been railed. You know they would have been railed. People would have been like, oh, they're just a bunch of imitators, copycats. They can't do anything original. So he chose to actually create a lineup that would bring something new, something fresh to the brand, that would actually apply a new designator not historically associated with the Guess Who. And for me, that would be a band that's now centrally focused on all their music around multi-part vocal harmonies, 3- and 4-part harmonies. I'm not talking about a guitarist or bassist singing backup vocals behind the singer, or a song here or there with multi-part harmonies, but that a core part of their sound moving forward is built around vocal harmonies. Think of Bon Jovi, the song Runaway. Great harmony part in there, but Bon Jovi's not a harmony band in the same way that Huey Lewis and the News or maybe Def Leppard is. There's just a difference. So if I missed that, Burton, if I never caught that the Guess Who was a harmony-focused band, I apologize. But to make sure that it wasn't just me, over the weekend on Deep Tracks, Classic Vinyl, Classic Rewind on Sirius XM, I put a call to action out to the listeners. I asked them, what are the bands that first come to mind when I say vocal harmonies? Iconic vocal harmonies. And the bands that listeners shared with me were the ones I expected to hear. Eagles, Doobie Brothers, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Fleetwood Mac, Little River Band, Beatles, Hollies, Beach Boys. A number of people mentioned Poco, which I thought was pretty cool too. Nobody mentioned the Guess Who. So again, it's not just me that never built that association. It's, I think, the general listeners. Now, the Guess Who's kick-ass rock band, incredible vocals. Burton, your vocals are incredible. Nobody's ever questioning that. It's just the band would never identified itself as a harmony band. And the reason being is one of the characteristics of a lot of these harmony bands is that they have a high harmony part. Eagles, Randy Meisner, Timothy B. Schmidt, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Graham Nash, Queen, Roger Taylor, Little River Band, Graham Goebel, the Beatles, both Paul McCartney and John Lennon could hit that high note. So there's a high harmony part. Well, in the new version of the Guess Who, Michael Sterto, guitarist, is that high harmony contributor. The high harmony creates this really unique vocal signature within the harmony that makes all these bands stand out.
And the man in the
And my whole point was that all of a sudden now, this band that has this iconic legacy, the Guess Who, now has a new sound. They've got a new designator. They are now probably one of the best live vocal bands that you can go see. So a final few thoughts here, Burton. I never meant any disrespect. I guess the way I looked at it is, you're Burton Cummings. I mean, you're already iconic. People know who you are. It's inarguable that you, Randy Bachman, and so many others are like the foundational stones in this iconic legacy of this band. I didn't see you in the same vein that I see people like Graham Goebel of Little River Band, who I've talked about, and how most Americans have no idea that he's the high harmony voice and that he's the one who actually wrote many of the hit songs. They don't know his name. I just figured everybody already knows your name, so it really never crossed my mind how this may have been interpreted by you. So again, I apologize about that. If you had reached out to me and said, hey, Dean, saw your post. Look, is this what you meant to say? I would have gone, oh, hell no, Burton. That's not my point. I would have gotten a post out that day, correcting it and making sure people clearly understood the point I was trying to make. I then would have said, hey, can we talk? Because I'd love to tell your story. Because at the end of the day, I just try to be a storyteller. I try to connect people on the music, the band. I get them to share their stories, because when we share stories, when we talk about the music, it's front of mind. It's front of mind. And that's all I try to do. Instead, you tried to tell me that I'm the problem, which I want to share this thought with you. Take the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as an example. Now, I don't know if this is true, but I do understand how businesses work. And I'm pretty certain that at some point, weekly, monthly, quarterly, there are meetings that take place where they talk about merchandise sales. They talk about membership subscriptions. They talk about churn and retention. They talk about sales of tickets to events, like exhibits at the museum or induction ceremonies. There are financial goals, and they're measuring performance against those goals. And I got a feeling that somewhere within the process, these things play a part in the artists they select as part of the nomination process. So why would they bring a band in who's engaged in just nasty public drama, member against members? Members are trying to divide the fans are splitting, and the fans are attacking each other. Why would you bring that mess into your business? I don't know if it's true, but I kind of believe that the drama that you're creating is actually having a bigger negative impact on the brand than me, who's just trying to tell a story. Look, when you tell a fan that we're the problem, that's like a divorcing couple telling the kids that they're the reason the marriage sucks. So the way I look at it is, look, leave me out of the squabble. I just want to celebrate the music. I want to celebrate you. I want to celebrate the legacy of the band. Y'all do what you're going to do, but I would say keep it out of the public eye, because I think that's doing more damage to the brand than me.